Guys, this is Fat Fish. What are we fat about today? We're fat about the NBA and the Academy Awards. We got the Dragon movie guy, Brian Torson, and we also got the Hardline. You know him. We're just gonna chop it up about the West, the East, and why. I got to ask you this, Brian. Why are there 10 movies for Best Pictures? When is it the same analogy as when I played Little League Baseball as a kid? There was a first place, a second place, and a third place trophy. Now all 10 teams get a trophy. We have to make everyone happy. Well, as I say that to you, both of you, if you haven't seen all the movies, fine. But Brian, since you're one of the leading authorities on running critics on the web, let me ask you this. Is there any of the 10 movies that we shouldn't see?
The only one you shouldn't see is Elvis. Elvis was a steaming pile. I mean, the performance by Austin, uh, the guy playing Elvis was good, but the rest of that film is awful. Two words. Tom Hanks in a fat suit. No,
Hey, we're fat fish.
skip skip Elvis.
Yeah, I thought. Well, I actually liked that movie, Hardison. I don't know if you saw it. Austin Butler did his own singing, so that probably helped him, win a Golden Globe or Academy Award, or will win an Academy Award. But there's so many films I've seen. Quiet on the Western Front, and I've seen Elvis, and I've seen Top Gun. Love Top Gun. Quiet on Western Front, I almost fell asleep in. But there's 10 movies, and I just think it's too many. And maybe I'm just being a hater. But how many movies have you seen, Hardline?
So I saw Elvis, was not a big fan of it. I thought it was ridiculously long. For the ones that are there, I did see Everything Everywhere All at Once. The Banshees of I always mess up the name of it, Ishrin. I saw that as well. All Quiet on the Western Front, it was long. To me, it was very long.
Oh.
It was kind of a little bit too long. And I did see The Fablemans, but it was not memorable. I'll tell you that much.
Wow, you saw more films. I did see Banshees of the Entrance, and I thought that Brendan Gleeson, Brian, and you'll handicap it, and Colin Farrell did a great job. But all I kept thinking was the standard line in that movie is what I hear: "Give me a pint," and the guy. I don't want to give away the film, but it's got a lot of history to it. But it was a little long for me, but the performances are great, so I could see some of the films had great acting in it. And Austin Butler was a great actor in Elvis, but I don't know. Brian, you're pretty high on the Fablemans, weren't you?
Yeah, I love the Fablemans. I mean, I'm a huge Steven Spielberg fan of my entire life, and E.T. was one of the first major movies that I remember watching as a kid, and that's all about Steven Spielberg's parents' divorce in real life, and this kind of touches on a lot of the same subject matter, but from a different perspective 40 years later. So it's got a lot of that poignantness to it, but it's also got a lot of just Spielberg charm to it.
Okay. I want to do some handicapping because John Hardison of the Game of Winning podcast, which you could hear on Google and Spotify and Apple and all the big outlets out there, he's been great in the past on past podcasts I did on Daily Fish. He was great, about a 68% or so. We're gonna tap him into some of the NBA later. But we're gonna do some handicapping of Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Picture. Give us some odds for Best Actor, Hardline, and I'm gonna have Brian give his critique of or tell us who he thinks going to win.
Okay, so absolutely. So Best Actor, the nominees are Brendan Fraser is minus 180 for The Whale. Austin Butler is plus 120 for Elvis, and Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin at plus 1400.
Ooh. All right, Dragon movie guy, go for it. Is there anything that you think's a sure hit there, or is that plus 1400 a dark horse?
I think Colin Farrell winning would be a bit of a dark horse. I'm leaning to the favorite in here, Brendan Fraser. He's getting a lot of the talk online. He's gotten some and opposite of Tom Hanks in a fat suit, Brendan Fraser in a fat suit actually is very moving in this film. And he put on some weight in real life, but the fat suit he actually makes work pretty well. The whole film is based off a stage production, and it has that feel to it, but it is still cinematic. And Brendan Fraser does such a heartbreaking performance in this role. To me, he's my favorite for this.
Do you think on Brendan Fraser, Hardline and Dragon Movie Guy, do you think that maybe we know him from School Ties, was a great film in 1992, and then the Mummy trilogy, really had a good career, and he kind of went away, did Encino Man. Is this more of a sentimental thing that, hey, you know what, the guy's made a comeback, and this comeback is exhilarating? You think there'll be some of the Academy that says, let's give it to him because of that?
I think personally he's turned the corner. I mean, never in my wildest dreams would I think that he would deliver such heartfelt acting, such great acting. I mean, when you saw Brendan Fraser, a lot of times you're like, oh, he's kind of like the funny guy, or he does a little bit of action here or there, but nothing of this caliber which you think I want Brendan Fraser to be the lead, and he absolutely just killed it. I mean, it was amazing what he did. And if he's going to get the Academy Award for any performance, this is the performance. It's like when you have certain actors that you're like, this was this person's performance. You knew that they were going to get it because there couldn't have been a better role for them to play.
Let's go to Best Actress. Give me some odds on Best Actresses, and we'll get Dragon Movie Guy's opinion.
Best Actress, I got Michelle Yeoh for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once at -125. Kate Blanchett for Tar at -115. And Andrea Rosenborough for Leslie for plus 2,900.
What do you think, Brian?
It's as close as you can get between Michelle Yeoh and Kate Blanchett. Michelle Yeoh is the center of probably the big Oscar favorite for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. But I like Kate Blanchett in Tar the best out of all of these. They're all great performances. But Kate Blanchett as Tar, as Lydia Tar, as a female composer in a male-dominated world, it's such a powerful performance, and it's not as dependent upon editing and story. It's so character-driven. I think that will probably be the reason why it takes her to the title or to the Oscar this year.
You got anything on Best Director, Hardline?
Yeah, so Best Director, of course, the Daniels for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once at -1,800. Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans at plus 850. Plus 850. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once are at -1,800. And Todd Fields for Tar at plus 2,900.
Wow, 2,900. Okay. Oof. Come on, startle us, Dragon Movie Guy. Find me a dark horse. Find me a winner that no one thinks is gonna have a shot.
A couple dark horses in there. Ruben Östlund from Triangle of Sadness, which was the Palme d'Or winner at the Cannes Film Festival last summer. Great movie, and for everyone that wants a political statement in their indie films, Triangle of Sadness is very political, but it's not preachy. And then Martin McDonagh, a director of The Banshees of Inisherin. It's such a heartbreaking film. The filmmaking on it is seamless. It's very classic Hollywood. I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them took the Best Director Oscar.
If you don't have anything on Best Supporting Actress and Actor, Hardline, do you have anything on that?
Yeah.
Give us the Best Supporting Actor first, and then go Actress.
Best Supporting Actor is Ke Huy Quan for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once at -2,000. And then Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin at plus 1,400. For Best Actress, I've got Angela Bassett for Black Panther Wakanda Forever at plus 135. And I've got Carrie Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin at plus 175. And tied with Carrie is Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once at plus 175.
Oh, wow. I'll jump in on that one first. You just think about Jamie Lee Curtis's body of work from Trading Places to the whole Halloween franchise. That could be someone that just gets it. And I'm asking you, this Dragon Movie Guy, gets it out of sentimentality. What do you think?
I think so too. Look, Jamie Lee Curtis really transforms in this role. She for lack of a better term, she pulls out the school marm kind of character. She plays an IRS agent that's auditing this restaurant, and she just disappears in there like she works at the DMV. It is a great performance as Best Supporting and worthy of it. I mean, I think Stephanie Sue also is nominated for the same film for Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I believe that is something that could split the vote in Best Supporting Actress. But yeah, I would say Jamie Lee Curtis is probably the favorite to win that category.
I'm gonna, if I had a vote, I'd vote for her just because when she pulled her top up in Trading Places and showed her tits, I was on the ground. I mean, and those, they didn't have any prosthetics back then. I said, whoa, my God, that's Jamie, that's Vivian Lee's daughter. She's just, that's a wow moment in people's lives, especially this idiot. All right, though. So what do you like about Best Supporting Actor, Dragon movie guy? Who do you?
Well, Kei Kwan is the overwhelming favorite, and for anyone who loved Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, he is amazing in Everything Everywhere All at Once. He's been mostly behind the scenes as a camera operator, as a general crew member on a lot of films the last 20 years, but he hasn't done a whole lot of acting. And the Daniels called him up, and bing bang boom, Kei Kwan is nominated for an Oscar.
That's huge. That's huge. We'll get back to that film. Let's go to Best Picture right now. Give me some odds on the Best Picture.
Best Picture, Everything Everywhere All at Once again at minus 750. The Banshees at plus 500, and All Quiet on the Western Front at plus 1100.
Whew. You know what? I'll start with this one. My son saw everything. I didn't see the movie. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Is that the way? That's the name of the movie. Loved it. Dad, you got to watch this film. It's so great. And then I've had people tell me that they just couldn't make it through halfway through the film. It's one of the most polarizing films that I've heard people critique. I haven't seen your critique, Dragon Movie Guy, and you can see Dragon Movie Guy. He's blowing up, one of the top guys on the web and critiquing movies. He's mainly on YouTube. You catch him on TikTok and catch him on Instagram. But I've not seen your review of it. But when I watch one of your reviews, and I've disagreed with you, I actually liked Elvis. So I'm the one schmuck that liked Elvis, Didn't love it, but I liked it. And I know you didn't. What's your critique of the movie, Dragon Movie Guy? And you just heard his 3 films. I don't think All Quiet on the Western Front has any chance whatsoever. Give me your dark horse film that could possibly win. And what's your critique of everything, just like my brain, Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Well, it's such an unusual thing in a field of 10 Best Picture candidates to have a minus 750 favorite.
Sure.
That is a massive favorite for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I got to admit, though, the first time I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday night showing, and I was the only one in the theater, and I came out of it going like, I don't know what I just saw, but it's either really, really good or really, really bad. Like it is a lot. That the movie is a lot. And when you hear stories about people in halfway around the world going into seizures after watching movies with a lot of strobe effects, that's sort of what Everything Everywhere All at Once felt like. It's a multiverse movie, so anyone who liked Avengers Endgame and the whole multiverse aspect to that, I think Everywhere All at Once, Everything Everywhere All at Once actually handles the multiverse elements of the story better than Avengers Endgame did. So it's a film that jumps everywhere. Every world is unique and different, and they even have a world where everyone has hot dogs for fingers. So it is bizarre in all the right ways. And this is a film that was directed by the Daniels. If you saw Swiss Army Man from like 5-6 years ago, they're the same directors of both films.
Give me a dark horse. 10 films. Give me a film that you think has a chance to win Best Picture that we might not.
Triangle of Sadness. Great flick.
Okay. Good. I like it. Now, one last question about the films. Top Gun going to win anything? There's got a chance to win some kind of a cinematography or any kind of technical awards?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's
Okay.
the chances for it, but I don't think it's going to win Best Picture. But popular movies don't do well in the Best Picture category in general the last 10-15 years.
You both know me as an idiot, and there's no filter in my brain. So I'm going to ask you this question before we segue into the NBA. What's the greatest sex scenes you've seen in a movie that are basically rated PG to R, not X? But when you walked out and you said, oh, my God, they pulled that off and you were aroused. I'm not talking about porno films, Hardline. I'm talking about a regular film. So I could go first if I threw you guys for a loop. There's 2. There's a movie that came out years ago called 9.5 Weeks with Kim Basinger and Mickey Rourke, where they're making love everywhere, in bathrooms, on steps. But they did it so erotically with the makeout, and the hand would go somewhere, and you knew the hand was somewhere in the crotch region, and you saw the expression on the face. You saw the exhilaration. All right. The other one, Brian, Dragon movie guy goes, you got to see this. I think it was called Voyeurs. Voyeurs?
Yep.
With Sidney Sweeney, and I forgot the actor's name. He played the drummer in Bohemian Rhapsody and did a great job. Those are the kind of sex scenes I like, that you use your imagination and you know that they're going at it. And I'll get one more. And I'm gonna. It's not breaking news. If you saw Monsters Ball, Billy Bob Thornton and Halle Berry were really going at it. Okay, people will say, "Oh, he's full of shit, fish." No, and it was so sensual. It's not about seeing people pounding on each other. It's watching their expressions when they're pounding on each other. So, okay, guys, take that away. Follow that up, boys.
Yeah.
John?
I'll go with Basic Instinct. That was one that like I always like super remember when I was like, this one is. I was like, wow, we're really getting away with this. Okay, this is something I wasn't expecting. The other one I probably would go with, that's just off the top of my head, would be what was the name of that movie? Body Heat.
Oh,
Yeah, and for me, not to lack originality, but that Basic Instinct was the thing I was going to say too. Basic Instinct came out when I was 16, 17. So not only does it have an impact, but it's at that exact time in life where a good scene, a good movie with a lot of scenes like that really has an impact when you're 16, 17. So Basic Instinct for me is the one.
well, he brought up Body Heat. That movie came out in 1980 with William Hurt and Kathleen Turner before she had all that work done, and she looks like Joan Rivers. Rest in peace. But there's scenes in there, and the way they shot the film, because it was hot in the sultry Florida and no air conditioning was working. And there's a scene where they wake up in the morning, and he's still sleeping, and the sheets are just above his waistline, and she takes her hand and puts under the waistline, and she's grabbing his right, and the look on his face and the way they move that into a sex scene. I'm a nut. Speaking about Body Heat, not the Miami Heat, let's segue into the NBA. Hardline, this is your forte, and no one's taught me more about the NBA than you. I've always, been a fan. I grew up with the Lakers. Brian and I were talking before you came on, and kind of like in off camera, about this play-in thing and how political that is. Why would you have a team that's 10 games out of first place make it? Number two is, and you both answer this because you're both. I know Brian's a fan of the NBA. I think the West is loaded. The Suns, Dallas, Denver, Golden State. Steph is coming back tomorrow against the Lakers on Sunday. They're loaded. But I'll let you guys both talk and I'll shut up. Don't discount right now the Milwaukee Bucks, and I'm not going on the edge on that one. They've been terrific. Do you think the West wins at Hardline? Is there anyone you see as a dark horse there? Or can Milwaukee somehow do a repeat what they did against the Suns 2 years ago?
So to answer your question is this. I think Milwaukee's probably the best team in the East right now. I keep thinking at times that maybe the 76ers will finally break through the glass ceiling, but I just don't think that they will. The biggest question about Milwaukee is Chris Middleton and his knee. If Chris Middleton's not going to be ready to go for the playoffs to play through those long stretches, you could have definitely a situation on your hands right there. As great as Giannis is, his supporting cast has been just as good as he has in terms of Drew Holiday and in terms of Chris Middleton being able to stretch that floor. So that's definitely something that's concerning going into the playoffs. Because right now in the East, it's really just the 76ers, Milwaukee, and Boston. And if you want to throw in Cleveland, that's another fourth team that you could. In terms of the West, you're right. I mean, the West is loaded. I think the reason that you have this play-in tournament right now is the same reason why every analyst on ESPN and every other network was mad about the All-Star game, which was the lack of hustle, the lack of participation, guys sitting out because of load management. And I understand the reason for load management, because at the end of the year, you want your best guys on these for these TV contracts. But the second half of the season matters. I think you want guys to actually play and have something to play for, rather than it just being one of those, well, if you get 8, it's good enough. No, I need to see that you guys are really trying to push the product forward, because even though we talk about player empowerment all the time, this is a business at the end of the day. And with the TV rights contracts coming up and players wanting more money, there's going to have to be more of a give and take even coming through, whether it's the reduction of games and maybe this play-in tournament or this midseason tournament that they're talking about right now, or the idea of, look, like, you guys got to start playing more games, and the amount of games that you're taking off is unacceptable at this point, unless you have a legitimate reason why you're not dressing for these games.
Yeah, it's such a load management is such a complex issue, because then what do you do if you take away load management? Do you then have like trumped up injuries like that aren't really as bad as they really are? I mean, like Shaq back in the 2000s would take off 20 games a year, 20 to 30 games a year with fake injuries or trumped up injuries just so he'd be fresh for when the playoffs come up. I get it. All the people that are spending hundreds of dollars on courtside seats and nosebleed seats, even that, only get to see LeBron once a year if he comes to town. But maybe it's just the players, maybe it's the media. Everyone judges the NBA off of championships, off of rings. So until we change the standard by which we judge all these players, I think load management's always going to be a problem, I think.
Yeah. Let me throw something at you. I'll throw the Lakers at you both, and then you just got me thinking about a tangent that Brian and I were in a bar about 3 hours ago, and we it's something he said to me.
Up.
Yeah, you are. I helped you with your windfall. At the wonderful Shucks Tavern, North Durango. I was bartending. The Lakers. I have a big problem, Hardline and Dragon movie guy, when commissioners say it's important to get our marquee teams in there. I have a big problem with that. If you need your marquee teams, you need marquee cities and marquee athletes in there, then you got a problem with your league. Get rid of the other teams that don't draw anybody. I mean, obviously Kevin Durant brings absolute credibility to Phoenix, even though they have Devin Booker and they have Chris Paul and a good team. The Lakers right now are a shit show because LeBron in 3 weeks, I think, Hardline, is getting reevaluated again. My question to both of you guys: can the Lakers survive the next 3 weeks, which is tantamount because they only have 18 games to go, and get into that play-in and help the NBA with their ratings?
You know what? It's possible as long as Anthony Davis stays healthy. I mean, but if Anthony Davis goes down, he becomes a glass brow again. That's the biggest issue. And look, the Lakers haven't been good. They made those trades. They don't really have a first round pick for another 5 years. There's a lot going on over there. I'm not a big fan of their GM. I know that a lot of people keep trying to defend him, but in my opinion, it's time for a new regime change in terms of him. Look, they've won games without LeBron. It just depends on who's going to be the next man up to step up. Do I think right now they're the best team in LA? No. It's as funny as it is. I think that we're yet again saying the Clippers are probably the best team in LA, and they have the most, if you take away LeBron, the most dynamic players. When you talk about Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard being in your starting three, I think that makes more of a difference. But it's going to really depend on how well Anthony Davis plays. If Anthony Davis shows up like he's supposed to, I think they can keep the ship steady. If Anthony Davis goes down, the Lakers are probably going to be sitting at home watching the Clippers.
And this is look, right now they're 11th in a 10-team playoff scenario. There's such a log jam in the Western Conference. Fourth place with the Suns down to 13th place with the Trailblazers is only 5.5 games total between all 9 of those playoff slots. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Lakers were able to rally and win a few games, finish a little bit over 500 in that scenario to squeak into a 10th playoff spot. But I don't really foresee them going very far in the playoffs unless LeBron has some sort of miraculous injury. This year's been all about getting the all-time scoring title for him. He's got that, and now with this ankle injury, I doubt that the Lakers are going to really even if they do make the playoffs, I don't think they're going to be going deep into the playoffs.
Yeah, I do. I right now, before I want to talk about this tangent that I started thinking of. I got Milwaukee and Phoenix right now going to the finals as of today, and I'm not going out on a limb. A lot of you people out there would say, yeah, because I just like the dynamics of Kevin Durant. I like Giannis. And I think they're a good. There's not a lot in the East. I'm sad what happened to Brooklyn because I was really rooting for them when they had Kyrie, Durant, Simmons, and then they'll win a few games. So Brian and I were talking earlier at the bar, and something there's a subject that came up on ProFootballTalk.com, and I'll preface it by saying, guys, that baseball is losing a lot of their regional networks, and they're going bankrupt. And baseball might lose a lot of revenue from regional networks no one's watching. Well, the NFL came out and said, Hardline, that they have to retool all their programming. That Good Morning Football, Total Access, a lot of their shows aren't making any money. And it was funny because Boomer Esiason was saying earlier in the week, Rich Eisen looks like he's in a bad mood. Is that the culture that we're in, that we're not concerned about watching any shows in the off season or regular season? We're more concerned about the games, which they need, obviously, to keep their leagues going. But it's concerning that a big megapolis like the NFL is losing money in ratings when it's not football. Is that concerning, or am I just overthinking that?
Brian, I'll let you go.
Well, I think when you have accountants and business people running the business in general, that's a good thing. But how you do the accounting has always vexed me a little bit. When you have Tony Romo and other ex-players getting tens of millions of dollars to be the commentator during the game, and that's in a programming category, and then you have all these hardworking journalists working Monday through Friday every day except Sunday. I wonder, how everything's being valued there. And yes, I realize that more people are watching on Sundays, but your hardcore fans, the ones that watch the NFL Network, represent a lot of buying power and a lot of interest in the sport. So I get the idea of making cuts here and there. And if a lot of the programs on NFL Network are like watching paint dry, and that's coming from a football fan, I think they need to mix things up at the NFL Network, but how things are accounted for, I think, needs to change as well.
I think the biggest thing is just the product that you have to show. Like, look, during the regular season, when you're talking about fantasy football, all these highlights, we talk about Red Zone, where people are watching that more and more now. The fact that the Sunday Ticket is now going to a streaming platform versus it being available on DirecTV, they're changing a lot of things. And look, on the offseason, it's hard because there's the draft, there's the combine, and then it's just, what is every coach thinking about? What does this coach want to do? It's a 24-hour cycle, and at that point, it doesn't really have an effect on a lot of players because your main marquee players know that they're going to be fine. Every offseason, you maybe have about 5 or 6 guys that move, but it's not going to be a difference. Whereas when you talk about the NBA, okay, in the offseason, the NBA stops, then you pick up with the WNBA that you broadcast, so you have the streaming rights for that, and the international games in which you stream in that, and then you turn back around, October's here, and then you're right back to the NBA, the main league again. So they're set up a little different because they have more to choose from versus the NFL, where it's just the NFL. Maybe one day they talk about maybe splitting the rights in the offseason with the USFL and giving people something more and more to watch that draws them to their networks. But as of right now, we don't know. With Major League Baseball, it's 162 games? 162 games. It's hard to justify watching every game every other day. Yeah, a lot of people aren't going to watch it. I mean, look, we call it the dog days of summer for a reason. Where you go out there, you get drunk in the heat, and you watch your team, and you spend some time killing it just to have a go. But it's hard to justify watching it. At some point, either you got to limit the amount of games to get more people interested in it, or you got to change something different. Maybe they decide to do a tournament similar to the NBA. Maybe that would draw more attention.
Well, what draws more attention, hopefully, is that we're changing things up here. And Fat Fish is a new podcast, and a guy named Brad Grunberg, a very good friend of mine for 30 years, an actor, comedian. We're going to have shows every Monday, and we're going to say things that you think, but you don't want to say because you have class. So we're going to chop about every single subject. Torsen, Brian, Dragon Movie Guy, was the first guy we ever had when I started doing podcasts, and Hardison's been great as a friend. We're going to keep Saturdays with Hardison. We have more of Brian on our shows, more guests. But I'll tell you what, Dragon Movie Guy on TikTok, mainly YouTube, Instagram. Brian right now is going to take off and do the Elvis promotional tour because of what he said about the film. And Hardline after this show is actually going to go and recreate with his wife the scene from Body Heat that I just talked about. So that'd be great. Hey, film that one. I'll put it on the show. Guys,
Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I got to throw in there. I got to throw into the other one. Do the right thing. God, Rosie Perez. God bless her.
Oh God. Oh, you don't think Spike Lee Mookie was happy with that? We can go on forever. She was hot. She had a little lustful scene with Woody Harrelson and White Men Can't Jump. I mean, she's just, they get older, but there's a lot of. But again, I like sex in a film, and I'm nuts. You know me. I have no filter. But I like it when you know where hands are and faces are in people's crotch, and look at the other people's face, and you can tell whether or not, it's acting and the good actors. And then again, you have Monsters Ball and Dragon Movie Guy. You know this. You verified this. Billy Bob Thornton and Halle Berry were really going at it. Okay,
Well, there was a couple of deleted takes or deleted scenes from Monsters Ball, and you could see the ball. Like there was those rumors that they were actually method acting in that scene where you can see it. It's a little grainy and it's a little pixely, but you can see the separation.
Yeah, you get to, you get to bang Halle Berry on a film, and then you get to bang Angelina Jolie in real life. And he's talented. Billy Bob Thornton's one of my favorite actors. I mean, the guy writes and directs, and he gets to bang all these beautiful women. What are we doing wrong? I mean, I'm happily married, and so is John. And Torsen, is pulling all the girls out of Chuck's Tavern at Hardison left when he moved to Phoenix. But that's another story. Guys, thank you so much for doing this today. We're going to come back on. I'll have you guys on again. The awards are what, the 24th, Brian?
12th, next Sunday.
The 12th. All right, so that's a Sunday. That next Saturday, we have video footage here. We're going to see how you guys did, and we'll do a little recap, okay?
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.